Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for coming here. I'm not an attorney. I'm just married to one, so I'll be very direct. Mr. Garrity, would you agree that uncoordinated action by multiple regulatory agencies imposes a cost on the financial system of the United States?
Congresswoman, I think the importance is that agencies coordinate as they implement their independent statutory duties.
I was interested in Ms. Clower's testimony and some of the recommendations that were given in your GAO report that talked about needing a cost-benefit analysis. Could you comment on that?
So I think that the issue raised is the question of how do we make sure that the implementation of Dodd-Frank is effective, and but also needs to be considered in the context of the financial crisis that we just experienced and the tremendous cost that imposed on the economy.
But have you studied FSOC, OFR? Have you studied what potential cost of non-coordination is, sir? And if so, how much would that be?
So the issue of coordination, I think, is very important, but as we go through the implementation of Dodd-Frank, I think there's plenty of evidence of very significant coordination among the financial regulatory community and the importance that they value of making sure that the rules are consistent.
But you have not looked at the costs regarding this.
So we accept that the importance of coordination is very high, and that's why we're very focused on making sure
But the answer yes or no on the cost-benefit analysis?
So, Congresswoman, I think what you're asking about is the importance of coordination. We think it's very important, and we're working to promote that coordination between agencies.
Well, and let me go back to a comment that you made earlier then, sir. I believe your testimony was that you could not comment on the actions of other regulatory agencies like the CFTC. Sir, wasn't that why you were created?
Congresswoman, I was speaking for myself. I can't speak to the specific decisions made by the CFTC in terms of how they promote their international regulatory approach.
I'll move on. Ms. Clowers, how has FSOC coordinated agency rulemaking to this point in time?
We had made a recommendation in 2011 that we thought FSOC could play a greater role in coordinating the rulemaking process. We recommended that they develop a formal policy that would indicate when coordination should take place, who should be involved, and how to reconcile conflicting views. We think there's a role for FSOC to play a traffic cop, so to speak.
How did FSOC fulfill its statutory, its very specific statutory duty to facilitate coordination during the process that led to the proposal of the VOCA rule in 2011? Ms. Clowers.
In working through our audit on FSOC, we saw that a lot of the coordination takes place at the committee level in terms of working through specific issues. I don't have a answer on the specifics of the VOCA rule, but I can get back to you.
Well, I would appreciate that, and I believe that that the report indicated that there was significant room for improvement. Is that correct, ma'am?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Next, Dr. Werner, and then Mr. Garrity, please. Can you describe to what extent FSOC and OFR have developed comprehensive and systematic mechanisms for identifying and monitoring systemic risk?
Thank you, Congresswoman. We are working hard in the OFR in collaboration with the Council and its member agencies in order to do just exactly that. As Mr. Garrity mentioned, we work through the Systemic Risk Committee to develop risk hypotheses to try to identify emerging risks, not just those risks that have occurred in the past. And we try to do that by looking at structural vulnerabilities in the financial system, such as the ones that have been discussed here today. It was referred earlier to risks in the tri-party repo market and short-term funding markets generally, in money funds and other areas, as well as cyclical risks that may emerge, such as the buildup of leverage or maturity transformation in the financial system.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Garrity, could you answer the question, please?
So the Council has developed a number of processes that make sure that we have very strong interagency collaboration and identification of issues. In addition, the Council's annual report is a comprehensive document that looks systematically across the financial sector, both in terms of significant financial market developments, financial regulatory developments, and then also uses that as a basis to develop hypotheses about potential
well, I believe
threats
that,
and
if I might interject here, I believe that the GAO report indicated, however, that in fact FSOC lacked the systematic process to identify future threats, and perhaps it had failed to distinguish future from current threats. I believe my time's
Congressman,
up.
the approach that we've taken in the annual report is to identify developments, to identify vulnerabilities, and to identify potential shocks that could interact with those vulnerabilities and create threats. In that sense, I think we have a very systematic approach to identifying issues that the financial regulatory community and market participants need to address.
I think my time has expired. I appreciate the chair's indulgence.
Ms. Clowers, did you have a response to that?
Yes, we did report in our September report that we thought FSOC could do a better job in identifying and reporting on both current and emerging threats in its annual report. At times, it's commingled together, so it's difficult to determine what is a current threat versus an emerging threat. An example would be the Eurozone crisis that was talked about in the annual reports as an emerging threat, when in general, most market participants have known about Eurozone issues for a number of years.
And the prioritization of those threats also.
Absolutely. They identified a number of threats each year, and we believe prioritizing those threats could help better focus policymakers as well as market participants on the key issues, because when everything's a priority, nothing is.